The air in Washington felt heavy that summer, thick with tension, ambition, and the scent of betrayal. The marble halls of power echoed not with leadership, but with ego. Cameras clicked like angry insects, chasing every slip of the tongue, every tweet, every sign that America's most sacred office was losing its grace. And in the middle of that chaos stood Anthony Scaramucci, the mooch, his smile sharp as his suit, his tongue sharper still, watching the nation he loved turn into a reality show he never auditioned for. He had been there before, inside the White House, even if only for 11 dizzying days. 11 days that felt like 11 years. He knew what it meant to see the promise of power, to smell it, to taste it, and to lose it before you even got a chance to sit down. But now, years later, Anthony wasn't the same man. He wasn't chasing headlines anymore. He was chasing something far rarer, dignity. He stood backstage at a packed auditorium in New York City, clutching his speech titled, How to Act Like a President 101. The title itself was provocative, half joke, half jab. But beneath it, there was pain. There was purpose. The country was divided. Civility had vanished from politics, replaced by insults and outrage. Anthony wanted to remind Americans what leadership was supposed to look like. Not the shouting, not the branding, not the winning, but the serving. As he walked onto the stage, the crowd rose, not sure what to expect. Some were supporters, others skeptics. He began quietly, almost whispering. Greater than, once upon a time, I thought being close to power made you powerful. I thought talking louder made you right. I thought loyalty meant silence. I was wrong. The room went still. He spoke of the White House, of seeing firsthand how ego can drown out empathy, how fear replaces truth. He admitted his own mistakes, the arrogance that cost him credibility. He told the audience how he'd once defended a man he believed would lead, only to realize leadership without humility is tyranny in disguise. Then he asked the question that silenced even the cynics. Greater than, when did we stop demanding character from those who lead us? A woman in the front row wiped her tears. A young man recording on his phone lowered it, realizing this wasn't a performance. It was confession. Anthony shared stories, not about politics, but about people. The immigrant father who worked 3 jobs so his son could go to school. The single mother who told him, you can't lead people you don't love. The veterans who reminded him what real sacrifice looks like. He talked about his fall from grace, how it felt to be mocked, exiled, and forgotten. But instead of bitterness, he found purpose. Failure, he said, is God's way of telling you to listen. He started traveling to small towns, schools, and community centers, listening to Americans who felt abandoned by both parties. Farmers who couldn't afford their crops. Teachers buying their own supplies. Veterans sleeping in cars. He began to realize that leadership wasn't about dominating the news cycle. It was about earning trust, one human at a time. And then came the moment that changed everything. During one of his talks in Detroit, a young student stood up and asked, Greater than, Mr. Scaramucci, why should we trust any of you? Politicians, I mean, you all say the same things. Anthony paused. The room waited. He could have given a clever line, something rehearsed. Instead, he said softly, Greater than, you shouldn't. Not until we start acting like you deserve our trust. Not until we remember that the presidency isn't a crown, it's a responsibility. It's not about commanding respect. It's about earning it. The audience erupted, not in applause, but in something deeper. They stood because they believed him. Months later, Anthony's message spread across the country, shared on social media, quoted by journalists, debated on talk shows. His phrase, how to act like a president, became a cultural pulse. Universities invited him to speak. But the more he talked, the more he emphasized one thing. It's not just presidents who need to act presidential. It's all of us. He started workshops for young leaders, teaching communication, empathy, and integrity. He invited veterans, students, and even former critics to mentor together. It wasn't about politics anymore, it was about character. One evening, after another sold-out talk, he sat alone on a bench overlooking the Washington Monument. The city lights shimmered on the reflecting pool, and for the first time in years, he felt peace. A journalist recognized him and approached. Anthony, she asked softly, do you ever think you'll go back to Washington? He smiled. I never left. Washington isn't a place, it's an idea. And we all have a piece of it. The question is, what do we do with ours? The story of Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch, was no longer about scandal or politics. It became a story of redemption, of a man who had walked through the chaos of modern America and come out determined to teach others what true leadership means. As the final line of his speech echoed across the nation, it became a mantra for a generation tired of division. Greater than, a president doesn't need to be perfect. But he must remember who he serves. The moment he forgets that, he stops being a leader and becomes a performer. And America deserves better than a show, it deserves a soul. The crowd rose, cheering, not for the Mooch, but for the message. For the possibility that somewhere in the noise, integrity could still matter. And as the lights dimmed, Anthony Scaramucci walked off stage, not as the man who once fell from power, but as one who finally understood it.